Here we have yet another example of my favorite strategy: plug points into equations. Now, for many of you, it should be obvious that the answer choices are equations, right? You cannot deny that those are equations. They got equal signs and they got x's. So there you go, an equation. But some of you might not notice that the question itself is giving us points, and that's because those points are written in function notation, which is a little weird. It's not how we learned what a point on a graph is, and so it's just maybe not as obvious to us. But we do need to be able to convert these into points. Maybe you've got it as it is, but I like to think of this as 0, 8 and 1, 12. It's an x and a y point. Now notice, there's no x or y written with the notation, but if you kind of think about it as f of x, right? Look at where the 0 is. Look at where the 1 is. Those are in those parentheses in place of the x. That's the x. You've probably also heard at some point that f of x equals y. This is when we first learn what function notation is, this is usually the first thing your teacher says. F of x equals y. So the equals is kind of giving us the y here. The 8 is the y, the 12 is the y. So these are points that we can plug in. And basically what we want to happen is that when we plug in the 0 for the x, we get an 8 out. So the lucky thing is 0 is a very convenient number. When we plug it in, I'll show you in choice A, it makes the thing it's attached to disappear. So 12 times 0 is just 0. So 0 plus 8 is 8. So that checks out. And if we notice, that's also this number at the end. Now this works because we have no exponents, no weird x's in weird places. So we can just kind of look at each of these equations now, and if we plugged in 0, anything attached to it would go away. So we'd lose the 12x, the 4x, the 4x, the 4x. Meaning only choices A and D fit that first point. We know B and C are wrong. This would be 0. So we should try the next point. Let's see what happens there. So in choice A, we would now do 12 times 1 plus 8. And 12 times 1 is 12, plus 8 is 20. But notice we're supposed to get 12. That doesn't work. Let's see if D works. That would be 4 times 1 plus 8. And 4 plus 8 is 12. And that checks out for both our points. So in a lot of cases, when I tell you to do plug points into equations, there are other algebraic ways of doing it. Here, they're really, you could find the slope here, but it's just so inefficient. It is so much better to just take the points and plug them in and just see what happens. It's a reliable strategy, and it's great because it works in so many different kinds of cases. It really cuts down on the amount of mental energy you need to use to just decide what to do on a question. You see points, you see equations, plug them in.